We go live very quickly. Change my camera. So we are live.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ivita, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the second day of the Chorus Project online festival hosted by Mukatsa Youth Cultural Centre in Skopje in the Republic of North Macedonia and by Upstart Theatre in London in the UK. I'm Tom, I'm the Artistic Director of Upstart Theatre, and I'm going to be chairing this afternoon's discussion about international arts support, funding, arts organisations and the international and national bodies with whom they work. Just before I introduce everyone who's with us in the panel today, I wanted to just give everyone a bit of an overview of why we're here and why we felt that it was important to have this conversation within the context of the wider Chorus Project Festival. So thank you all for being with us as we go on this next stage of our 3-year international artistic journey. As people who are watching this are likely to know already, the Chorus Project is a 3-year-long project created by Mukatsa in Skopje, by Patas Theater in Munich, Germany, and by Unit and Theater am Lend in Graz in Austria. And I've missed someone. I've missed Upstart Theatre in London. In which we have been interrogating and reinvestigating the Oresteia, the oldest surviving set of ancient Greek tragedies. And we've made 4 new separate artistic projects which jump off from the themes of the Aeschylus tragedies. And so in order to investigate those ancient texts, we have been supported by the Creative Europe programme of the European Union and by various national and international funders in our 4 separate countries to have time to go on a process of creative research and development, to be co-creating work through workshops in our local communities, and also to present work at theatres, and as a result of the COVID pandemic, also in the digital format that audiences are able to watch with us this weekend. So it's been a long project for many of us, 3 years in total from when we started work on it, and significantly longer since we began putting the concept together in October of 2016. And so we got really interested in planning this weekend's festival, in having a conversation about the relationship between artists and arts organisations and the national and international bodies that, as part of their missions, at the core of their mission or as part of a wider programme, provide support and sustenance to arts organisations like us. So the overall aims of this afternoon's discussion are to explore the history, the challenges and opportunities that are faced by international bodies who are funding arts projects, and by the artists and arts organisations that work with them. We've got until 4 p.m. in London or 5 p.m. Central European time, so about another 55 minutes. And we're going to hopefully, I think, have a quite wide-ranging discussion about the challenges and opportunities that we all face. So first of all, everyone, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching via YouTube, please feel free to drop in any questions that you might have using the chat function. We're going to keep an eye on those. I'm quite bad at monitoring the chat as we go along, but I know that Ivita is watching them carefully. So yeah, please feel free to just jump in with any other questions, and we will pick up those at the end. So first off, I'd just like everybody who's on the call, there's quite a few of us, but if you could just introduce yourselves and the organisation that you're from in one very short sentence, that would be fantastic. So perhaps Caroline, could I ask you to start off, please?
Thank you very much, Tom. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here with you all. My name is Caroline Meeby, and I'm from the British Council in the British Council HQ based in London. The British Council is the UK's organisation for cultural relations.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And just moving around my screen, Elsa, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, it's great to be here. I'm Elsa Büsing, producer and dramaturg of Munich in Germany, and the overhead producer of the Chorus project from Pathos Munich.
Thank you so much. Hello, Katja, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hello, my name is Katja. It's nice to be here. We started, I think, 2016 together to create an application. And then we created a second one, and then we were successful, and it's an amazing project because it's our second project together in this EU funding frame. Maybe we can later talk about these experiences.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Biljana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello to everybody. I'm Biljana from the Ministry of Culture. I'm head of Creative Europe Desk. It is really nice to be here, especially to be among the people that are dealing with the Creative Europe program. And I would like to thank to the organizer, MKC, and the partners organizations for this invitation. And I hope that we will have a really good discussion.
Thank you so much. Lovely to have you with us. Next person on who I could see is Eleonora. Hello.
Hello, I'm Eleonora Zaprova. I'm the director of the British Council office here in Macedonia in support to Caroline to this meeting. Very excited to hear about the project. And it has been exactly 4 years since Caroline actually has been to Macedonia and to MKC. So it's good to see together to the two of us at this call.
Fantastic. Thank you. Nada, would you just like to introduce yourself to everyone who's watching?
Hello, my name is Nada Pisha. I'm an advisor within the Department of Europe Integration and Creative Europe Desk. And I'm also very glad to be here and to speak about the ongoing project and with the project partners of Youth Cultural Center. So I hope we will have a good discussion.
Thank you so much. Edith, I don't think I've asked you to introduce yourself on the Zoom call yet, although I did just do it with everybody else.
I am Edith, I'm from Graz, Theater am Land. I really like to be in international context. This time it was very special because of the COVID situation, but I think it was also very exciting to see how we overcome the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to the effects of COVID on our projects as we go. Hello, Philip. Welcome to the call. We're just introducing ourselves to one another. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody else?
Hi, I'm Philip from Youth Cultural Center. Just a short introduction. I will let Ivica to talk because he is a coordinator of the project. So just to say hi, and I will just watch. If you have some questions, I'm here.
Great, thanks so much, Philip. And finally, Ivica, would you like to introduce yourself and MKC?
Yeah, I'm Ivica Dimitrievich. Now in this project, I had the role of artistic director of our team, and also project coordinator from Macedonian team, and I represent this time MKC Skopje with Philip and everybody else.
Thanks so much. So yeah, welcome everyone. It's great to have you all together. So I was thinking it would be helpful to begin by just asking everyone from each of the international and national funding and support organizations, which is probably not the correct phrase, but I'm going to start with that and we'll work on, to just tell us a little bit about the history and purpose of your organization. Caroline, would you like to start with the British Council's point of view in this?
Yes, thank you. So yes, the British Council is the UK's international cultural relations organisation. And in terms of history, we've been around since the middle of the 1930s. Interestingly, the British Council was put together and established under Royal Charter to combat the rise of fascism in Europe at the time. And to actually combat that by seeding opportunities for international cultural relations. And we do that as an organisation through supporting promotion of the English language, access to education and educational exchange opportunities, and the bit that I work in, the bit that we all work in, which is the arts and culture. So what we do is we provide opportunities for artists and artistic organisations in the UK to travel overseas and to collaborate with their peers and partner organisations to show work from the UK, but also and predominantly actually to make new work, to foster new ways of working and new collaborations that actually have cultural relations as the bedrock. So it's not simply about showcasing work. It is when it comes to engaging audiences, but the value in what we do is actually the bit that we call cultural relations, which is getting different organizations, different artists to work together, create new things, have a deeper level of understanding, establish networks that we hope will survive and flourish way after the initial project has been disseminated. So that's in a nutshell what we do. So I'm based in the London office. We have a team in the arts. We have arts experts in the UK who know the UK sectors very well. We have a dedicated theatre and dance team, a music team, a visual arts team, etc. And we're supported by extraordinary colleagues. We have 350 dedicated specialist arts colleagues all over the world in over 100 offices who are out there who really get to know and have relationships with their sectors. And obviously colleagues like Eleonora as country directors who support and oversee all of that work and how it's delivered. So that's who we are and what we do in a nutshell.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Biljana, would you like to tell us a little bit about the Creative Europe program in particular?
Yes, exactly. Macedonia, our country, exactly, North Macedonia, joined to the Creative Europe program in 2008. That was 2000. In that time, that was Culture 2007, Culture 2013 program. That means that our cultural sector and the Ministry of Culture and the cultural organizations today really have some experience in the implementation of this program, and that is really good. I'm happy because of that, because I can confirm that this program was very important for us, for our country, and also for the region and for Europe as well. And my opinion, and I think that that is the opinion of the cultural organizations, that the cultural organizations that have been involved or implemented the Creative Europe program projects, culture sub-program, exactly, they are really recognizable, and they build a different kind or different type of profile of the organization, and that means on the positive way, they really learned the different skills of networking, project management, partnership, and so on. That means that they really escape from this local level, and they really implement their activities on international level, and that is still very important for our country. Like Creative Europe Desk, we are trying to do the best for our organizations, because our role is to function like informative offices, but also it is not just simple information that we need to deliver to our organizations, but also we are analyzing the problems with the implementation of their projects, and also implementation like a desk on a national level. And we are trying to advise the ministries and political authorities to improve the mechanisms for the better implementation of the program. We have been aware about the implementation of the program, because Creative Europe program is and the grants are by European Union are just the grants 50% or 40% or 60% and so on, that we need to solve the national problems here and to find some way how to support the projects, and to develop the co-financing mechanism in order to provide the finance support, also logistic support, technical support, sometimes to our organizations. We are organizing, like Creative Europe Desk, the Info Days. Also, we are providing the technical assistance. We are organizing by ourselves, but also we are cooperating with the desk from the participating countries in the Creative Europe program. We are exchanging the experience. For example, at the end of May, in cooperation with the delegation of European Union, we will continue to promote the best practice projects and the success of the Creative Europe program. Our country is most successful in the literary translation projects. We are one of the 4 best countries on EU level that our publishers are using this strength. Exactly, cooperation projects are still weak point. We will discuss maybe later what are the weak points of our cultural organizations to jump in the cooperation projects. But in general, we are very satisfied with this program, and our country will express the interest, or still non-officially express the interest to European Union to continue our participation in the new program. That will be just briefly, but I hope that we will continue in details in the further discussion.
We surely will. Thank you very much, Biljana. Nada, would you like to tell us a little bit about your ministry and what your activities are?
Well, basically, Ministry of Culture is the main policy body in Republic of North Macedonia that is running the culture policy in the field of culture. Besides the Creative Europe desk and possibility of co-funding the all projects that are already funded by the Creative Europe, Ministry of Culture also have a national lines, our programs of financing the culture, both as national institutions and local public institutions, and also financing the independent organization, independent artists, and basically independent sector. The structure of public calls is coordinated to the law on culture. We are at this moment, Ministry of Culture is publishing one open call for financing the national interest in culture, and the beginning of the year, the result are the financing is going yearly. So each year we are financing the open calls for financing of the program of the organization, but also we are financing the talented person that are going to be going to go to further studies within the field of culture. And also we are supporting the artists by financing their social giving opportunity to be financed the social incomes like pension fund, like basic insurance, pension, and social and health insurance. But the main I would like to emphasize is that at the moment we have a new law on culture going on to be adopted in the national parliament. And we also in 2018 adopted a national strategy of culture that is going to that is providing a serial of changes within the culture policy. So according to new law, the way of financing the culture will be much more easier, because the ministry will have opportunity to publish the project of the independent organization not only in one basic call, but in several much more calls. Also, the Ministry of Culture at the moment is during this process of waiting for the new law to be adopted. We are trying to support the cultural institutions, especially in the independent sector, through establishing the new budget lines or new budget program for establishing. So I would like to emphasize that from 2018, the Ministry of Culture has established a new type of project that is financing the interdisciplinary project that are some much more closer to the work of the most independent organizations that are working in the field of culture, and some of them are very successful in using the European funds, the funds from Creative Europe, but also other funds from European Commission and other funds of culture, other international cultural funds. So this line is very good because it is supporting all the needs and of the creative sector, and it is a process of accepting the new cultural ways, new cultural practices, and we are just supporting the definition of new cultural practices, the interdisciplinary approach of working within the culture. So basically, we are hoping for changes that are going to be adopted very soon, and to be changed the way of ministry is going to financing the national institutions, the independent sector. The new law is going to change also the definition of independent cultural workers. So as it is now, according to the current legislation, the definition are very very straight. So the Ministry of Culture is financing the artists or curators, or I don't know, the musicians. The new law on culture will widening the new the possibilities of financing and supporting the professionals that are working within culture as culture management, culture producers, and to support the ongoing processes that are already supported and already accepted within the culture field internationally.
Right. Thank you. So you're almost going through a process of redefining how you're able to support artists and actually who is legally defined as an artist.
Yes, one of the main priorities to change the definition of independent cultural workers and artists. So because we are accepting the interdisciplinarity of the culture process that are very actual within the European Union, within the world of culture, cultural scenes and culture policies in other countries. So it's something that is needed because the networking that was established by a lot of cultural institutions, both national, both budget public cultural institutions or independent cultural institutions that are using these European funds, give them opportunity to change the way they are to bring the interdisciplinarity within their projects and to change to the way and to promote a different type of culture and art to bring and to push to promote the interdisciplinarity in arts and culture. That is the process that is ongoing, and it is part of this one of the main priority of this government from 2017-18 until now, and we are hoping to be it's one way toward the democratization of the society or democratization of cultural scene. Of course, there are questions about how to finance and national and public institutions, because we have the other side of the culture and the huge network of national and institutions, and also the local institutions that are also financed by the Ministry of Culture in form of yearly dotations. So the Ministry of Culture is trying to find a way to support all actors in the cultural scene. So Youth Cultural Center is a public institution, but it's a local public institution founded by the city of Skopje, and it was founded in the process of decentralization of culture in 2004. And the new law is going to afford this process of decentralization and demetropolization of culture to continue, so the local authority could to culture to become much to have an opportunity to lead their own culture policies. And of course, new culture policies mean new wave of financing. And that is one of the main priority within the new law and set of laws and set of documents that need to be adopted, or are on the process of to be prepared. And that is one of the priority in the national strategy of culture in 2018 that was adopted by the parliament, according to which the culture need to be democratized, we need to support the process of democratization of culture, support of the independent cultural sector, the support of public sector, but also support of decentralization of the culture, not to culture be concentrated within huge cities, but to give some opportunity to local communities and smaller part of the smaller municipalities to have possibilities to support culture, because culture is not only in the main city, the culture need to be everywhere spread. I hope we are looking for the best and hope this project will be finished soon.
Thank you.
Just
Go on.
sorry that I jump in. I just want to add some small things. Everything what Nada says, it's really interesting, and I know that our Ministry of Culture is trying to work in this field. And I'm part of Cultural Workers Union, and I know exactly how that goes. And yeah, there is very good. How to say, there is some force that wants to make all of this, but there is still a lot of bureaucracy. And I think what we need as artists is to kill that that bureaucracy, because all of that bureaucracy somehow it's kill us. I can easily say. So I think because we need to find a way how easily we can apply, how can we easily find our financial support from not only from Ministry of Culture, but as also on other funds. So I think main thing is to cut and be a little bit straightforward with this bureaucracy and cut all of these paperwork and etc. etc. And in the end, nobody reads that until the end. So that was my opinion. Sorry that I interrupted.
No, not at all. I think I'd love to sort of jump in on that thought as well, because there's so much there's so much to talk about in the time that we have, and we may not cover everything, but I think it's really interesting to think about. Nada is coming from the perspective of a government ministry that directly supports artists and has a responsibility, and this new strategy of democratizing and distributing funding, but there's a lot of passing money direct to artists. We also, Biljana talked about the Creative Europe programme and its successes and challenges, and that's something obviously that comes from the EU. And then Caroline, at the British Council, you're what's called an arm's length body, and along with Arts Council England, who've also funded aspects of the Chorus project here in the UK. Maybe could you just, Caroline, give us a brief description of what an arm's length body is in the UK context, just so we're all on the same page?
Yes, so I mean, in an arts context, in the UK, arts is not funded directly by government. We have a Department for Culture, Digital Culture, Media and Sport, the DCMS, which is our equivalent to Ministry of Culture, I guess, but they don't directly fund, money doesn't go directly from DCMS to artists or arts organisations. It's channeled through arm's length public bodies, of which particularly in the culture sector, Arts Council England for England, and culture is devolved in the UK, but you have Creative Scotland in Scotland, and so on and so forth in Arts Council Wales and Arts Council Northern Ireland. So they have that separation and that independence. The British Council is an arm's length public body. Now, even though we work in the arts and we have a very, very long history of working in the arts, we are actually not aligned officially to DCMS. They are not our official sponsoring department. We are actually our sponsoring department is the FCDO, so that's the Foreign Development and Commonwealth Office, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. So that's what we do in cultural relations, is aligned more to what happens in cultural diplomacy. So cultural diplomacy is what embassies do. Cultural relations is what the British Council does. And how we work with artists and arts organisations, and how we work with funding international arts projects is very much on that sort of sweet spot, which we call cultural relations, which is somewhere between cultural diplomacy and somewhere between what the Arts Council does, which is give international, is directly give funding to artists and arts organisations to work internationally. so yeah, so that is how we work. The independence of the arts is obviously something that's that we're very that is very important, I think, in the context of the UK and the independence of the British Council, actually, because we have our sponsoring department, but we are still independent in how we make decisions and how we make strategic decisions and how we choose who we're going to work with and how we're going to channel funds in different areas and actually be able to work with artists and arts organisations if we didn't have that independence as the British Council. So that is very important for us. And just wanted to mention Creative Europe because actually that comes under my line, the Creative Europe Desk UK, which has been the most extraordinary project to be involved with. We've been proudly part of the current programme, and we've worked very, very closely with all the desks across the Creative Europe family. We're very sad that that's going to be coming to an end at the end of this month. However, we have an extraordinary coalition and network of brilliant artists and arts organisations who've worked with Creative Europe over the years. We'll very much be there, hoping to support them to continue to work with their European collaborators and friends and partners. Yes, yes, we will, because we have because the British Council, obviously the UK is no longer a part of the EU, but the British Council remains in Europe, in the part of Europe that we're virtually talking in today, but also the EU countries, and we will absolutely do everything we can to maintain relationships how we can through our networks on the ground, and building even closer relationships through organisations like UNIC, which we still remain a very, very proud partner of. So that's us.
Thanks, Caroline. Edith, did you want to jump in?
I want to ask Caroline if there are concrete ideas how it will be possible to proceed with these collaborations with colleagues in the UK, or there are only at the moment hopes and it's not quite clear how it will work.
I mean, I think there's ways that we are already doing. So we already have a very strong arts team based in EU countries, and in particular very strong in Germany, in Italy, in France, who are already always collaborating with European partners, European networks, developing opportunities for artists to work together. So, that's always happened. And the work that we've done as part of Creative Europe and the Creative Europe Desk has been part of that bigger story. In fact, some British Council led projects have been funded through Creative Europe. So the Europe Beyond Access project, which is a really remarkable project working all across EU, Europe and beyond, working with disabled and disabled-led arts companies. And that will continue, that very, very proudly continue. So there, nothing, we haven't stopped, we haven't closed the door, we've kept doors open, we're throwing doors even wider open where we can. And when we have we will be developing, we're looking at different designs of mobility funds. We're looking at how we can work again in partnership with European partners, but also the arts councils of the UK, because everyone wants to continue to work and see how we can best support people to continue all of the collaborations that have been going on. So there is a lot happening, and we very much hope that by about the autumn we should have some concrete things to announce. But there are things happening, and on our British Council opportunities page, there are opportunities that we always have live. I mean, some are very, very targeted and very specific around if we're working with a particular festival partner, and if we're looking for opportunities to invite UK artists to go and show their work at a particular European festival. They will be very targeted and specific, and we have some of those, we constantly have those live, but we're looking at how we can create something bigger. I mean, I think, you know, it's fair to say, and I'll be very honest here, just because I'm very close to Creative Europe, that we are, as British Council, not going to be able to replicate the extraordinary work that is done through Creative Europe. But we absolutely will hope to provide opportunities for people to plug in. And it's also just worth saying that British UK arts organisations will still be able to work within the Creative Europe New programme, obviously not in the same way as they have done before, but certainly coming in as partners, not able to be lead partners, unfortunately, but certainly will be coming in as other partners. And, you know, through the network that we've established over the years of the last programme, we're absolutely hoping to, we will be, not just hoping to, we will be showing creating connections with that extraordinary network, with extraordinary organisations in the EU.
Just to jump off of what you've just said, Caroline, as well, I know one thing that I'm personally very concerned about in terms of travelling to Europe for artistic purposes, visas. I know the British Council doesn't do lobbying, and that's not the function of the British Council, but I am aware, I think, that there are various sort of actions being taken to try and encourage the UK government to come to an agreement with its EU counterparts about artists' mobility. I mean, there's public campaigns that are being run by, I know Equity's involved in some stuff. I don't know, you might be a bit more plugged into some of those conversations than I am currently, Caroline, I don't know.
Yeah, there is a lot happening. I think all the major UK sector organisations are involved in different ways, whether through directly lobbying and lobbying in Parliament, through all-party parliamentary groups and campaigning. People like organisations like the Creative Industries Federation are very actively involved. The arts councils themselves are actively involved. I mean, as you say, we have to stay politically neutral. And we cannot lobby. However, what we can do and what we have been doing is gathering together lots and lots of research and very powerful research. So we've recently published a report called The Impacts of Creative Europe, the current programme in the UK, which is really an extraordinary testament to the value of the work and those and getting that evidence and making sure we can get that evidence in front of decision makers is how we support, and we also support by, you know, constantly listening to the challenges of the sector, helping where we can to amplify those, while not directly campaigning. But, you know, as you say, there's a lot going on. I think that the complexities of life post Brexit for UK arts organisations are, in some ways, I think COVID and because people haven't been able to travel, I think a lot of it hasn't really hit yet, and I think it's people are now starting as things start very slowly to open up again, and people start looking at what this might mean for them in terms of future programming. More and more things are coming to light. So I think it's been extraordinary how the sector is galvanizing from, you know, very grassroots campaigns right to the very top, with very prominent people like Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber from the music industry, who, you know, very publicly heading up campaigns. And there's sort of practical things that the British Council and through the Creative Europe desk have done, which is providing fact sheets and some webinars to try and help people navigate what is an incredibly complex process around work permits, because it's, you know, we know that we're able to have visa-free travel in Europe, but each EU country has different laws, maintains different laws around work permits. So actually, you know, there isn't a one size fits all. So trying to get the up-to-date information on that and channel it through channels in a way that is digestible and understandable to the culture sector, without having to draw upon experience of lawyers, which is, as we know, just isn't available to most small arts organizations. They need things that they can understand and they can get in action. So we are doing a lot of work and in partnership with other organizations to try and get those practical things out for people, so at least they know where they stand. But you know, I just have, we are talking to people. We're constantly amplifying the voice of the sector where we can, and we are involved in those conversations.
Thank you. I guess you've sort of taken us on there, I think, Caroline, to a few things that I was hoping that we would get to. We talked a bit about the impact of Brexit and obviously the pandemic and the devastating, let's be honest, effect that it's had on, you know, cultural organisations in Macedonia and in the UK and everywhere else. Just for all of us here, a question which is, how can we imagine things being built back better after the pandemic does finally end? You know, we've had this extraordinary year of not being able to work in the old ways, of not being able to travel to one another's countries and present the work that we were hoping to present. And we found solutions digitally, which isn't by itself a solution. You know, culture is not going to go 100% online, and nor should it in the 21st century. But we have found our ways around some of the problems that the last year have thrown up. I was wondering for our colleagues from the British Council, from the Ministry of Culture, from Creative Europe Desk, but also from our colleagues on the Chorus project, like, how can we imagine ways of things operating better for our sectors, whether as funders or support organisations or cultural ministries or arm's length bodies, or as artists and arts organisations? Like, how can we imagine a better way of building relationships between funders and artists in the future? If we could dream up anything, I know we've got 12 minutes, if we could dream up anything in those 12 minutes, what might it be? Edith.
I think that this very strict regulations about the categories in some projects, they are not so helpful, because you always have to go to fulfill the strategy, the structure, and sometimes we experienced now at this time, you have to be more creative and to have imagined more than your plans were before. And so it's really not so helpful to have these very strict regulations. I have to say, the feeling the people are try to be very helpful, but there's always a fear, can we fulfill these things? And I know other programs, they are a little bit more open, and it's important to have results, but the structure, the financial structure is more open, and it's easier to work with, like in the Erasmus programs. And so, yeah, that would be very helpful to change here something.
Thank you, Edith. Yeah, so it's like those very rigid lines of reporting that you get. I mean, for example, like Creative Europe is a wonderful, wonderful program. But I think, you know, I'm very aware of, we're about to wrap up this project, and I know what the reporting requirements are that I have to start work on at the beginning of next week. And as someone running a 3-person independent arts organization, that's going to be what we do for the next 2 weeks, rather than making art or planning the making of future art. We're going to be printing out and signing documents, and that's fine. You know, that's a condition of the grant, and we're happy to do it. But I do think that there is something about the amount of bureaucracy that's involved in that process that is challenging, especially for smaller organizations. A little bit like Caroline, you were saying in relation to lawyers and immigration. You know, if you're the Royal Shakespeare Company or the National Theatre in London, you can probably just about afford to have someone managing that stuff full time, year round. but for smaller orgs, that's not going to be as straightforward.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is an opportunity for funders also really think about the beneficiaries and who they are and what they do and how they work. So again, speaking from a UK perspective, the Culture Recovery Fund that the government put out, which was obviously very, very welcomed by the sector, but there were whole swathes of freelancers who make up the vast majority of the sector who just were not able to access any funds. You know, those funds were there to keep the lights on and keep buildings standing, but actually it didn't reflect the fact that the beauty of the culture sector is this very flexible workforce. And I think, you know, it was touched upon earlier by a previous speaker, but the idea of these sort of rigid sector definitions as well. So, you know, now more and more artists, the new generation, and assisted by technology, which is disrupting everything, people are working in much more multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary ways, working in cross-disciplinary teams. It's a very, very creative, it's a very exciting way of working for people. But again, I think some of our structures as funders doesn't really help with that. We like putting people into boxes to track our results against our sector. And we've got to change our way of thinking around that, because again, particularly, you know, artists who are people in their 20s, you know, they don't want to define themselves in many cases. They don't see themselves as one thing. They see themselves as many different things to different times and different audiences. And I don't think as funders we've necessarily caught up with that way of thinking, and I think we have to. And I suppose just on the reporting, I always think as funders, we should just be a little bit more honest, perhaps, about what we're trying to capture and why. I think sometimes we make things really, really complicated, and people sit there going, you know, I really want to help. I've been given money and I really want to help you, but you know, all of this stuff, what do you actually really want to know? Tell me and I'll give it to you. And I think, I think we can really talk about that. It's something in, you know, British Council context where we're talking about a lot. You know, how can we make things simple? How can we just be really open and transparent about what we're trying to do and the sort of KPIs we're using, and then say to people, you know, if you want to work with us, this is what we're going to ask you, and this is why, and just bring them into the process a little bit. So those are my thoughts on it. Work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that why is so important, and as soon as we know why we're doing something as artists and arts organizations, as soon as we have that sense of like there's a reason behind this. It's not a set of arbitrary data that needs capturing. You know, it's much easier to motivate ourselves, it's much easier to motivate people, and it's much easier to work out really quick and easy ways to gather. I mean, data gathering in the 21st century by and large is not that difficult. Like, it's generated all the time. So it's then a question of, yeah, bring it together. I've just picked up on a comment that Amy made on YouTube, just seconding. I like what someone said earlier about reducing bureaucracy for support. And I guess there is something about the language as well in which application documents are often written. Again, thinking of, so I'll use Arts Council England as an example, just because I've been working on some applications for that recently. They're generally quite good at allowing you to put things in quite simple language, but there are artists who Upstart works with and tries to support who would struggle to submit an Arts Council application, and they feel like there's buzzwords that you should use at certain points. And what I always say to those artists is, well, if you think the Arts Council is hard, try writing a Creative Europe application. Just again, like, you know, not to disparage Creative Europe, I think it's a wonderful program, but there is certainly a sense that we need to provide a lot of information needs to go into those applications. There's a lot of stuff that the EACEA needs to know about. I don't know, Biljana, or maybe Caroline, from your experience working with Creative Europe, what's the conversation been with the Creative Europe programme about simplifying or making more accessible that application and reporting procedures?
Goodness, I mean, I think it's something. I mean, I'll hand over to Biljana, and obviously, unfortunately, for us as the UK desk, we're not going to have that seat at the table to influence. You know, I think it's something that has been voiced by many of us who were sitting around the table, and how, you know, I think the UK desk has influenced in terms of the impact reporting that we've done, which is much more simplified, much more user friendly. The sort of how we've presented data, and that has absolutely influenced, and we've been very, very pleased to see that, and we've to see that that's been warmly welcomed by other European partners. I think just on the the point about simplifying things, you know, there's you should not need a sort of a PhD or a master's to be able to get funding, you know, and at the moment, you know, we're talking about arts being more accessible to people from different sorts of backgrounds, and, you know, actually looking at how we're asking people, how all the hoops that we're asking people to go through, you know, we have to look at those if we are really genuinely going to make things more accessible. We have to look at people who prefer not to write written applications. You know, we've done a few experiments at the British Council with video applications, people talking about their work, you know. It's more work for us as funders, because then, you know, obviously you're looking at that, you're translating that, you're taking that in, but it makes it more accessible to people. So I think, you know, we have to acknowledge that it's going to be that we have to put the work in. But again, I think this is where technology can also really, really help us. I think a lot of this is sort of rooted in a quite old-fashioned form. Getting data through lots of text and lots of forms, and that people have to look at and do manually. But, you know, technology, software, AI, that can really help. It's not always, you know, it's not everything, or I think, you know, people are still very important in making those decisions. But I think easier for the artist.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Biljana, is there anything you'd like to add in just before we go to Ivica? I know we're very short on time.
Okay, everybody are aware about the really very complex process of the preparing of the application, and a level of administration that the applicants should pass in terms to apply. I'm working in the ministry. I'm also working with the European Commission through the desk. But at the same time, we are working with the artists, with the applicants, and we are really, like a Creative Europe desk, very objective what is going on the ground, because we are we know the roles of the ministries, of the national authorities, the European Commission on the other side, and the really needs of the creative sector of the artists. And it is a very difficult for us, like desks, for example, even to advise the Commission, European Commission. That means that all our Creative Europe desks that are participating in the Creative Europe program are fully aware for the question raised, that for this very complicated and bureaucratic procedure. And we are trying, like a desk, to convince the European Commission to find the more simple way for the beneficiaries and for the applicants. We will see how that will look within the new program. But also we are aware for the national rules, and it is we are trying, like a desks, to find some solutions or to advise even to provide the better opportunities and better positions for you. I fully agree, especially when we are talking about the program that is even on the policy level very complicated and complex, because we are talking about the intersectoral approach in this program that is challenge, and it is we are fully aware how much energy like artists and creators you need to create the product in the frame of the project. And I can on my name I am fully on your side like artist, that you really need to in terms to produce the really good quality of the artistic product. You really need some simple way, and not so much bureaucracy in this process. But the things not depend from us like Creative Europe desks. We just can advise our national authorities and commission.
Thanks, Biljana. Yeah, it's something that that's a conversation I've had with the Creative Europe desk team in the UK before as well. And Caroline, I'm sure you've had that many times, where there is that relationship, the relationship between the commission and the national desks is also like slightly different to what one might expect if you didn't know about it. You know, the national desks can advise, but your contract when you're funded by Creative Europe is with the executive agency, not with those national desks. And so, yeah, we really appreciate that, the challenge that the teams on the national desks have or have had in the case of our colleagues in the UK. Hopefully one day we'll be back. Yes, it's 4 o'clock my time, so I think we are pretty much out of time. For anyone who's watching on YouTube, we also have the Small Direct Actions workshop that is starting in about 15 minutes over on Gather. You can book tickets via our Eventbrite page, and you can find out about that on the Chorus Project website. It just remains for me to give a very deep and heartfelt thank you to everybody who's joined us this afternoon, to Nada, to Biljana, to Eleonora, to Caroline, to Katja, Elsa, Edith, Philip, and to Ivica, and to all the team at MUKATES Skopje for making this possible. Thank you to Creative Europe for your massive support of this project. We're critical sometimes, but we love you, and we'll miss you here in the UK. Thanks a lot, everybody. That's all from us for now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank you.
the event and for the invitations.
Thank you and goodbye.
And wishing good luck to anybody with your project, and wishing you good luck in UK with adapting to the new reality and finding new ways of cooperation with Europe and other countries.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll find ways to get together again.